Welcome to the Influencer Podcast. I'm Jim Cavell, the founder and CEO of Influencer, and there's no better way to start this podcast. This is the first ever episode than to start with my manifesto, right? Like, why does this podcast exist? What is Influencer? Why does it exist? Who am I? What's my passion and my why? And how am I trying to help the audience I'm trying to help, which is college athletic departments and their student athletes, through what I've built. So this is something that you need to listen to if you're involved in sports on any angle, whether you're an athlete, you're in the front office for a pro team, you're in the athletic department for a college team, you're in media, because we're going to talk about what is going on right now in what may be the most disruptive time in the history of traditional media. Traditional media is TV and radio, and it's going to be addressed in this manifesto that I'm going to recite to you, if you will. Where's media going if traditional media is being disrupted? What does the rise of social media mean for you based on the angle of sports or angles that you're involved in? You might be an athlete transitioning into the media. You might be in the media, but you're losing your job or lost your job. I really want, if you're involved in sports, you're involved in media, I want you to listen to this with an open mind. I want you to be open to reach out to me. I'm open to listening. I'm open to receiving your thoughts. I'm open to helping you. And so you have avenues, whether it's Jim at INFLCR0001. We use one of those funny abbreviations because we're, a modern tech company. So it's Jim at INFLCR.com. I guess I'm just hopeful we'll one day have a New York Stock Exchange code, and so I figured I'd abbreviate the word influencer. but realistically, it's just because influencer.com wasn't available, and we decided to brand that way. But Jim at influencer.com, INFLCR.com. Hit me up, Jim Cavell, on really any social media: LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It's just JIMCAVALE. I want to talk about this. And so this is for you. And so here we go. I want to really just get right into this manifesto. Joining me on this episode, you're going to hear Gary Vaynerchuk, a 4-time best-selling author on social media, entrepreneurship, really just marketing. The guy always knows what's next. You're also going to hear Tiki Barber. Tiki is not only an NFL legend for my New York Football Giants, but he's a guy who also really gets this topic. He's the chairman of a company that was formerly known as Thuzio, now called Julius. It's an influencer platform where influential social media figures can monetize their social medias for great purposes. And you can learn more about Thuzio, Thuzio, by just going and searching them on social media. And then Julius is spelled like you would think it'd be spelled, like the legend Dr. J's name, Julius. So those two platforms are really cool. And I mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk. You can just search Gary and you'll find all kinds of stuff. There's really nothing I gotta tell you about him, but if you want to find him on social, it's at Gary V with 2 E's. So definitely check him out. And then thirdly on this podcast, you're gonna hear Cole Kublik. Cole is a former Auburn great, played center, started there for 4 years at center in the late 90s, and then has gone on to a really successful broadcasting career after a stint in the medical sales world. And the reason that's relevant is because he leveraged his time as a student athlete not to play pro sports, but to have a career first in medical sales and then in broadcasting, now with the SEC network and with CBS Sports Radio. So you'll hear from Cole as well, and you can find him on social media at Cole, C-O-L-E, Kublik, C-U-B-E-L-I-C. So here we go. Let's get into it. The Transitional Manifesto. I wrote this recently after really a long period of time of doing research and development to get to where I'm at today, launching this new brand, Influencer, and even pieces of content like this podcast. So Transition. Transition is the process of a period of changing from one state or condition to another. And the reality is the majority of people despise transition, right? They despise change. It's transition's a phase filled with lots of change, which requires additional work that you didn't plan for. And it mandates a heavy time investment on forward thinking. Transition also possesses a component that most leaders, and I got to admit myself at times, we despise this component, and that is a lack of control. We lose control during a time of transition because we have to be forward thinking. We have to start to bet on what's next and be ready for it and be forward thinking, be ahead of it, right? So let me sum up transitional phase for you. Hard work plus innovation plus risk equals the reward of staying relevant in an ever-changing world. So most leaders don't want a new list of things to spend their organization's time and money on learning to adapt to. Most leaders, and I mean the majority, I'm talking like 95+% of leaders, would rather spend the same amount of time working against whatever it is that is changing. And this is why those who do adapt first win. Say that again. Most leaders would rather spend the same amount of time working against whatever's changing instead of with it. And this is why whoever adapts first wins. I think that's really important to think about. And I'm gonna go ahead and really quote one of the best leaders of all, Winston Churchill. To improve is to change. To be perfect is to change often. Churchill. I mean, World War II, how much change had to occur for the Allied forces to be able to win World War II? Now, I decided not to act like most leaders who resist change. And I don't want you to be like most leaders either. I want you to win. So let's talk about who I am and how I got here. So my passion and entrepreneurial journey led me into transition. And, you know, like entrepreneurial journey, like what is that, right? Like entrepreneurs become so cliche. You know, I'm not going to go into who an entrepreneur is, what it is, and all that. I have a separate blog at jimcavell.com. You can read about what I think it means to be an entrepreneur. But, you know, recently I exited a company that I passionately built with a transformational team of people. And we did that over the last 7 years. And I'm fortunate where we had a successful run and it allowed me to participate in a healthy exit. Not only in the financial terms, I got a buyout, but also through the relationships that I've built with my partners and our team. And so since then, I have been in one of those head down transitions. I mean, I'm working my butt off to heavily study and calculate new media trends in the marketplace. So like that's what I've been doing for literally, you know, about a year. Now, I don't know that I've ever been in such a lengthy transition. I'm the like guy that when my family and I move from one home to another, like we've got everything situated the next day, right? So like that's going back to control, the type of person I am, albeit good or bad, probably blessing and curse. But I've been patient with this one. You know, I exited a brand that I built over 7 years with an amazing team and partners and all that. And I didn't go right into something else. I didn't care what my story looked like. I didn't care if people thought different things about why I left or what's he doing now. It was about freeing up my time to be in a head down transition where I could calculate, study new trends in the marketplace. So in business, I know that I work best with a narrow yet diverse focus on accomplishing a big, hairy, audacious goal. So a big goal for the brands that I've decided to invest my family and I's time, money, and passion into, that has to be there, and I have to have a narrow focus on that goal. So with Iron Tribe, my previous brand, which we were fortunate enough to build from one garage to more than 40 gyms nationwide, garnering Inc. 5000 honors for 3 straight years. That's an honor that Inc. magazine gives out for being one of America's fastest growing companies. All those awards, all that. The big, hairy, audacious goal was grow from one garage to 100 gyms, right? Or to 50 gyms, to as many gyms as we can over the years in front of us. And so I've developed that same focus over the past year in building and launching the Glow Beauty on Demand app with my wife and co-founder Yasmin. And Glow is now growing into new markets in the Southeast. And I'm going to have show links below this, so you can click on links about a lot of this stuff. What is Iron Tribe? You can learn more about Iron Tribe. What is the Inc. 5000? Was Iron Tribe 3 years in a row? Really? Like, let me see an article about that. Glow. What's Glow? Glow's growing into new markets. What markets? Like all those are going to be in the show links. And I'm not going to keep referencing each link, but those are links that'll be in the show links on this post as well. So they'll be below the actual podcast you're listening to. So I've had this deep desire to start a new brand in sports media, right? It's entering this very transitional phase of its own. This is a place where I've been wanting to play for a while. Loved fitness. I love on demand. I don't know how much I love beauty. I guess I love beauty because I love my wife, but loved fitness. Love the beauty on demand and the on demand space, and definitely betting on the on demand space. I think it's in its infancy, and I think on demand technologies for all industries, especially in the services industry, B2C is going to be huge. So Glow is a way for me to itch that scratch, so to speak. But I want to play in the sports world, and I want to play in the sports media world, right? This is a place I've been wanting to find a narrow focus for me to pour myself into. So before I keep going on what I want to say and make sure I hit, I got to say something about me in sports. I mean, I'm a guy who came from New York to Alabama to play college baseball at the Division II level, okay? That's how much I love baseball. And that's how much baseball was my identity, leaving my family in New York State to come down to the University of Montevallo, where I graduated in 2005. Built a sports media company in college. We did over 100 broadcasts on TV and radio, mainly through streaming, which was new back then in 04 and 05 when I started this network. And that taught me a lot, but it really taught me I'm not just a broadcaster. I'm an entrepreneur, right? I love the generalism of it all. Raising money and finding student workers who want to work outside of class and can gather around my vision of we're going to do 100 broadcasts in our first year as a network, and learning new technologies and learning the engineering side, not just the talent side, and being there on press row, calling a game on the radio with a suit on. People are like, why has this guy got a suit on? I mean, this is radio, but a suit on so people will take me seriously as a guy who's still a student in college, and I'm broadcasting the game on the radio while holding a camera in my hands, filming it as I broadcast it, so I can, after the game, put together a show, edit it, do a stand-up on camera, put it in there, and then put it on TV, right? Like the generalism of it all. So I love sports. Worked in sports media after college, not full-time, but as a contractor in addition to my business I started. And I did that as a broadcaster. Worked on the sideline with networks like ESPNU and Comcast Sportsnet. So I got around sports in that realm, traditional media realm, back in 05 to about 2009. During that time, built a brand in sports, helping college athletic departments stream video on their websites, but also helping them connect with high school recruits through some technology that I raised money for and built with a team to go out and get high school kids to put their athletic highlight videos on, to put their academic transcripts on in a secure manner with verification from their coaches so they could then market themselves to college coaches. So I'm going to stop going too deep. I have a tendency to do that, but hey, I love sports, and I've played in the space before. And then I ended up at Iron Tribe and played in a different space in fitness and franchising. But I want to get back into sports. So for the last 8 months, I've invested more than 2,000 hours of research and development around two passions. Number one, the impending decline of traditional media and its effect on the college sports financial bubble. Second, the student athlete and her life beyond sports. This is important. These two things are important to me. The impending decline of traditional media and its effect on the college sports financial bubble. And second, the student athlete's life beyond sports. So this R&D phase has empowered me to hone in on the impending problems relative to these two passions that I referenced above, focusing on the development of tangible solutions toward these issues for those who elect to work with me. What's in it for those people? So for those people who want to work with Jim, want to work with this company I'm going to tell you about, Influencer, what's in it for them? Well, I'm going to help you attack several imminent problems in a head-on manner. Through the solutions we've developed in Influencer, college athletic departments will be able to further protect their brand on social media while increasing their social media brand reach for both recruiting and monetization purposes. I'm going to get into it. I know you probably got questions. Let's dive in and let's hear from some of these experts like Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if anybody knows more than social media and business than him. Tiki Barber, guy knows a lot about sports, is a college and pro football legend, but also is a guy now in the business world, still not calling games, but doing sports commentary on CBS Radio with his own show, and in the social media space with his influencer marketing platform. You're going to hear from those guys. Cole Kubelik from the SEC Network. So let's get into it. So what's the problem? The problem really has two parts as it pertains to what I've been addressing thus far, right? I told you I'm passionate about these two audiences, or these two passions: the impending decline of traditional media and its effect on the college sports financial bubble, and then second, the student athlete's life beyond sports. So when it comes to the problem, the first part of that problem is the looming decline of traditional media and its effect on the college sports financial bubble. Listen, the college athletic department and the university as a whole maintain historic brands that they care deeply about preserving and enriching in any way possible. It's the lifeblood of both their enrollment and their alumni, which are the two primary groups of funding for the institution. The university's brand control was once limited to content they could sign off on with exclusive distribution by traditional media outlets. I mean, think about it. Do we want to run press on this? Yes. No. Do we want to advertise our university here? Yes. No. Do we want to allow this network to come in and broadcast this sporting event? Yes. No. University had all the control. This is not the case any longer. The reality is social media has created brand tentacles via the representative social media account channels of the university brand itself. These tentacles are evident through the individual social media accounts of the personal brands who represent the big brand they are associated with. They might work for that brand, they might play for that brand on the field or court, they might just attend that brand as a student, they might have attended that brand. These are brand ambassador social media channels. These personalities, whether they have 1,000 followers or 1 million, represent the school, their tentacles. The bigger the organization, the more tentacles and liability its brand possesses in the form of brand ambassador social media channels. In the social media world, these people are called influencers. A person with 1,000 followers, a micro influencer. A person with, 30,000 is an influencer, and a person with 500,000 or 1 million is a like a celebrity influencer. That's what they're referred to in the business world, in the social media world. These schools have a lot of these people. Here's the deal. In college sports, the social media accounts of the institution, the athletic department, the teams, the coaches, and yes, colleges, your student athletes. These are all brand tentacles that represent the complete brand of the university as social media influencers. I think that most universities, both at the top level of administration and the specific niche administration in the athletic department, I believe they have their back turned to this. I believe they are not acknowledging that their athletes are personal brands that represent their school as much as they should. So the college athletic department has decided to be reactive about this for the most part, which is no surprise, because when you look at the revenues and the size of their massive organizations, they're acting like 99% of the bureaucratic organizations that have chosen the same route, to react instead of to act. It's resisting change. This is no different than what we've seen bureaucratic record labels do during the redefinition of music distribution over the past decade. Remember, the majority despises transition. This creates an opportunity for those who embrace these changes in sports media to become pioneers leading their university into the future. So these big collegiate sports brands have extremely large fan bases, which is their number one asset as a business. So let's switch off of just sports. Let's talk business for a second. Regardless of what business you're in, the list of prospects, customers, former customers, etc., is your most valuable asset. I don't care what your products are. I don't care what your services are. I don't care any assets you own, like technology and code and robots and IP patents. That's not your most valuable asset. Your most valuable asset is your list, period. Let's hear from Tiki Barber on this.
With college athletic programs, how big is the opportunity for them to protect their brand, but also to increase their brand reach by empowering their student athletes on social media?
I think one of the greatest untapped resources in college athletics is the brand of the student athlete that is borrowing the brand of the university. And until there's been a coordinated effort to put around it, other people are going to do it.
I mean, what Tiki's saying is so true. It's the foundation. And, social media has created the opportunity to directly communicate and build up the university's fan base more than any previous media opportunity that's probably ever existed. I mean, I want you to think about that. And then I want you to couple that with the fact that the average college athletic department has their attention focused elsewhere. I assume this is because of the extraordinary amount of dollars coming in from traditional media rights fees and the fact that this has become the way it's always been. But really, has it always been like this? I mean, really? No, it has not. Traditional media has not always funded college athletics to the degree it does today, which is in the billions. I mean, it has evolved to this point over decades. You had less than 10 networks broadcasting sporting events in the early 1990s. You had hundreds of television networks broadcasting sporting events in the present. And in the middle of that time, from the 90s to the present, this is translated from millions to billions of media rights dollars over that time span. So the way media rights works is you have, national networks like ESPN paying the SEC billions of dollars over a certain time span for the rights to broadcast their events or to have a network together. At the same time, you have local rights, TV, radio, that people like IMG buy the rights to be able to then manage those TV, radio networks locally and sell advertising. So that's rights. These are traditional media rights. The early adopters in the television game, like Notre Dame on NBC or the SEC network on ESPN, like these guys won. These guys were the early adopters when the trend was going this way, where that opportunity was there. I believe it's gone. However, these are long-term deals. So those two examples and others like them in these Power 5 conferences, they can still take advantage for a few more years on this way they won in the television game. And many others lost because they weren't the early adopters. Because conference realignment arms races took place, some people lost big. I think the Big East basketball conference, or what it was, I know there's still a Big East now, but what it was is an example of losing. I mean, so much happened during this previous rise of traditional media, not social media. And you got West Virginia's in the Big 12. The Big 12 has 10 teams. The Big 10 has 12 teams. The Pac-10's the Pac-10's the Pac-12. Syracuse, my beloved Syracuse, is in the ACC with Boston College and Pitt. Lots going on. Things are about to evolve even faster for two reasons. The way in which viewers or subscribers consume content is consistently evolving. And then number two, businesses are spending their advertising dollars differently. Gary Vaynerchuk, I think he can speak more to this with this whole rant he has on the TV becoming the radio and the phone becoming the TV. Check this out.
The thing that I'm completely taken aback by is the fact that this is now the television, and the television is now the radio. And it's the late 40s and early 50s, and the people in this room that understand that, and understand that Snapchat and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram are ABC, NBC, ESPN, and MTV. And that the businesses and individuals in this room that realize how to make MASH or Seinfeld or the best shows on those platforms will win. We are living through a major shift where every person in this room has a binary decision. Either you go on the defense because of all of this, or you go on the offense. Either you realize this is the greatest opportunity we've ever had as humans and entrepreneurs, or you're scared of all these changes and you judge them and you fear them. And so for me, in this huge shift of technology and communication comes the greatest opportunity ever. Again, because the theme of the night for me, the fact that mainstream media has been able to cast such a cloud over this ecosystem is fascinating to me. I'll be very honest with you. I'm not sad. I'm pumped. I am thrilled that so many people think it's bad because that's more opportunity for me.
It's so true. I mean, each day, more viewers consume content on their mobile device instead of their television. This on-demand consumption habit has us viewing multiple pieces of content at once, creating a real competition for attention from all content producers, big and small. Gary always talks about, like, if somebody says, what do you do? Instead of getting into, I own an agency with 800 people and we help Fortune 500 brands and I'm an author, all that, he'll stop. He'll just say one sentence. I day trade attention. And that's what he does. And that's what everybody is really doing when it comes to anything they do to monetize their brand with media nowadays. You're day trading attention. All right, so we've gone from watching an entire sporting event on one of the few channels that televised these events in the early 1990s to DVR fast forwarding through commercials on one of the hundreds of channels that televised these events in the early 2000s, to watching content like the NFL Red Zone or on-demand highlights that live within the channels on our customized social media feeds here in the present. We have evolved as in how we consume content. What does Tiki have to? Tiki sets this up perfect.
What are your thoughts on traditional media and sports and the fact that eyeballs and advertisers are moving from traditional media to social media?
I think it was a natural evolution of the internet that content, which usually had to be disseminated through media channels, is now coming directly from talent. It allows the athlete to control his message.
The athlete can control his or her message. Tiki is so right. I mean, while the traditional media networks have adjusted their delivery mechanisms to provide viewers with mobile content through these social media channels and network-specific apps they've launched, the television network's ability to monetize this content through advertisers and subscribers is going to look much different in the future. I mean, it's going to look like about 180 degrees different. I mean, I'm so glad I'm saying it right now in Q2, beginning of Q2 2017. I want to be on record saying it's going to look like 180 degrees different as far as monetization. Take it seriously, listeners. If you have decision-making power in sports and you are depending on traditional media right now, you need to turn around. Turn around. Kublick has some great comments on this.
This was something that I had conversations with multiple SIDs, sports information directors at different schools, about what are you saying to your kids about this? Are you telling your kids that, do they really know how many people are following this? Do they know that the true reach of what their social media has? There's no way that when I was 18, 19, 20 years old that I would really understand how many people were going to see the things that I was going to put out there and how cautious I probably needed to be with what I put out there. And then most importantly, how I could have utilized that to better myself after I was finished playing for that university. So there is a big time barter taking place between brands, colleges and athletes. They both need each other, and you might be on one end or the other of this one deserves more, this one deserves less. However you want to negotiate that in your own brain is fine. But the reality is they both need each other to survive and to flourish. And social media is a new weapon that can allow college football players, college basketball players, college athletes to flourish once their playing career while borrowing or bartering that brand is complete.
Traditional media networks will simply not be able to continue to fund college athletics to the degree they do today in the years to come. these networks are already having trouble subsidizing their own talent in the current budget of media rights fees and all the stuff they've done to continue to bet on the future based on how it is today. It's blowing up in their face. ESPN, best example of that. Another link that's in the show links. I mean, 100 people laid off in one day because they're betting. They were betting on something that they can't not pay the rights fees. They've already promised them to the leagues. So what can they not pay? People. That's who goes first. This should matter to the university and its athletic program because it means that one of their budget's leading revenue drivers, media rights, will be changing dramatically as well. I can't knock this home enough. This revenue driver has allowed the biggest schools to participate in quote-unquote arms wars, to have the highest paid coach or the biggest stadium. And I'm just telling you, the bubble is going to burst. Another recent happening is Nick Saban has gotten himself up to $11 million a year. And I posted something about this, basically I believe that he deserves it. When you look at the fact that University of Alabama enrollment has more than 50% of its enrollment out of state now because kids want to be a part of the party scene and the fun that comes with Alabama football, that's Nick Saban. And that's a bigger tuition, average value per student because of him. But the other schools, this can't continue. It was a big deal when he went up to $5 million and then $7 million. Now he's at $11 million. It can't continue. Something has to give. There's always a sacrifice. Something's got to give. If you disagree with that, you might disagree with everything else I say. If you disagree with that, go study history. Something has got to give. Kublik's got more on this.
Yeah. But I think our attention span is a big part of how and why and what we are consuming. I'm as guilty of it as anyone. I'm the biggest football nerd on the planet. And I find myself on Sundays sitting on this couch in here. If I pick up my phone and I begin to rifle through some tweets and see what else is going on around the league, I'll look, and I'm a Steelers fan, die hard, and I'll look up and have missed an entire series. And a team's about to score and they've driven 76 yards, and I'm thinking, I didn't see any of that. And I literally have to rewind the game, put my phone down, and watch it again. So it's definitely shifting. Sports are always going to be covered. Sports are always going to be written about, discussed, talked about, but our attention span in what we consume and how we consume it, I think are going to be critical moving forward.
The bubble will burst. So throughout my journey in studying this fascinating problem, spoken with several powerful college athletics leaders, both at the conference and the university level. One thing is clear. The majority don't see what I see, and it's almost like they enjoy passionately refuting everything I've said in the first 30 minutes or whatever of this podcast. Won't get into their comebacks. It's sad because I've been a part of some pretty cool organizations that I've been a part of building as an entrepreneur, but also in leading. And maybe there's people that were working for me or came from the outside as a vendor, and they thought that about me. I hope they didn't, and I hope they never do. If there's one thing I always want to do, I want to listen, and I want to think. I want to be a forward-thinking person. I don't want to innovate to spite myself. I've learned from mistakes on that, but I always want to innovate. A lot of these folks I talk to, that's just not their concern. So I'd assume that this tone I've heard from the majority of these administrators and leaders is similar to, once again, the record label executives that just over a decade ago had their industry completely flipped on its head. Another link in the show links to read. I would assume also that there's college athletics leaders who actually see exactly what I'm saying quite clearly, and they'll rise as the innovators who are ahead of the curve. They'll not just keep their jobs, they're going to be the pioneers into the future. I mean, these leaders who embrace this transitional phase and decide to work hard, remember it's work hard plus innovate plus take risks, they're going to reap the great rewards for their university. These pioneers are the leaders I want to serve with my new brand I've built, Influencer. So, we talked about there's two issues, right? There's this traditional media issue of it declining and the college sports bubble bursting. And the second part of this problem is the part I'm a little more passionate about, even though I'm passionate about the first part, and that is the student athlete's life beyond sports. I'm very passionate about this. The impending decline of traditional media will not only affect the sports media financial bubble, it will do the same in professional sports media and many other media verticals outside of sports. I mean, you're seeing this right now with both Hollywood and television content in various ways, as Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and others are producing their own content to cut out these content owners who used to have the leverage of being the only ones who could distribute the content. Over. That game is over. If you can create and produce your own content, you can distribute it yourself. You don't need them, quote unquote, them any longer. You don't need these rich folks in the white, ivory tower, making the decisions and taking advantage of the talent. Like, that has ended. The talent can, what did Tiki say? The athlete can control his or her message. Antonio Brown went on Facebook Live right after the Steelers-Chiefs playoff game on NBC and did a Facebook Live in the locker room, and it offended a lot of people because it destructed the sanctity of the locker room, and they heard Coach Tomlin come in and talk about the next team they were playing and call them assholes, and that was a big deal and whatever. But you know what? Antonio Brown made $500,000 to agree to do that for Facebook throughout the season. $500K. If you can create and produce your own content, you can distribute it yourself. You don't need them any longer. To revisit the music industry analogy, the record label's stronghold over its signed talent was not production. It wasn't studio time. It was distribution. It was printing out the 8 tracks with the artwork and getting them out to the stores, and then the cassette tapes and then the CDs. That's what it was. Distribution, man. Distribution. The moment the distribution power was put into the artist's hands, this is the moment the record industry would be changed forever. Another great comment on this from Kublik.
So for me, I go back to the season of Manziel and McCarron. And I think about, that was when I sat back and I said, wow, I've always believed in the power of the platform that these college football players have. And I've always known that taking your name and taking your experience and taking a championship ring or taking a jersey, whatever, on with you in life is going to have intrinsic value and help you later in life. But that season was the first time I sat back and I said, these kids have a whole new weapon, and it could be a weapon of mass destruction as far as the things it could allow you to do later in life. I mean that in a positive way. This is a whole new set of artillery that these kids are playing with here. When you looked at Manziel and McCarron going over 6 figures in Twitter followers in a season, and all of a sudden, this was something that I had conversations with multiple SIDs, sports information directors at different schools, about what are you saying to your kids about this? Are you telling your kids that, do they really know how many people are following this? Do they know that the true reach of what their social media has? There's no way that when I was 18, 19, 20 years old that I would really understand how many people were going to see the things that I was going to put out there, and how cautious I probably needed to be with what I put out there. And then most importantly, how I could have utilized that to better myself after I was finished playing for that university.
Here's the deal, there's a reason that I want to focus on college sports instead of many other verticals that will also be disrupted by this traditional media decline. It's 3 words. The student athlete. I guess student athletes may be one word with a hyphen. So, the student athlete. That's what this is about. Less than 1% of the 1.5 million high school football student athletes actually realize their dream by signing a national letter of intent to play big-time college football. Less than 1% of these 15,000 big-time college football student athletes actually realize their dream of playing professionally in the NFL. Yet almost 100% of these college football student athletes believe they'll have a sustainable NFL career. For those who do make it to the professional ranks, the average NFL career is less than 3 years. More than 90% of big-time college student athletes in all sports use social media for more than 60 minutes each day. Once a 4 or 5-star recruit signs a letter of intent with the big-time college of their choice, they become a social media influencer with more than 10,000 followers. This also occurs once a big-time college student athlete steps onto the field as a starter or onto the court. More than 30% of big-time college football student athletes are social media influencers with over 10,000 followers on at least one social media platform. Their followers are the present fan and student base for their university, or the younger prospective students and recruits who look up to them. Like, the same people the school cares about actually are the people who follow their current student athletes. Less than 1% of these college football student athlete influencers are verified on social media, with as many as dozens of fake accounts in their name. I'm just going to say Kubelik's quote here. "How are these student athletes with 10,000 followers or more not verified?" Cole said to me. "Accredited news reporters are quoting fake student athletes' social media accounts." He's so right. It's crazy that they're not verified. I know that many of the people who read this might already be aware or listen to this, excuse me. Some of this is coming from a blog I wrote, but I know that many of the people who read or listen to this, like, they're already aware of the majority of these statistics, but that doesn't warrant me skipping over them. You know, I mean, like, it's a new paradigm. What's in it for you, college athletic departments? I've created solutions, a team, a product, services with Influencer that college athletic departments are going to be empowered to further protect their brand, but also increase their brand reach for both recruiting and monetization purposes. Let's hear from Kubelik again on this.
Let's think about the reality of, I don't know what percentage of high school athletes that are being recruited are on social media, but I would guess it's pretty damn close to 100. It's well over 90, and that's an assumption, but I would feel pretty safe assuming that. So if Coach A can come to you and he's recruiting against Coach B, and Coach A can lay out a program that says, we're taking your Twitter, your Instagram, your Snapchat, your Facebook, and we're going to help you set that up for how it can be valuable to you later in life. The athlete might not even know how that's going to happen or what can happen there. But for a coach to be able to sit down and say, this is the plan that we're putting in place for you after you're finished here. That goes further than, I'm going to get you to the NBA. I'm going to get you to the NFL. This is something that we're going to help you build, that we're going to take care of, that we're going to make strong. You can take with you after you're done here, and you can do whatever you want with it. And so there's still a big part too there of, okay, if the school has responsibility, you want them to represent your school the way the school would want them represented. So you're not going to go out and act like a bozo and do whatever you want on social media when the school's behind it trying to help you build that following. And I think social media education is something that is not taken. Why are these kids not verified? Why are fake Twitter accounts tweeting things after championship games and legit media members are running with it? How do they not know that this is not the kid that's not running that account? It's asinine to think that even happens.
The solution. We talked about the two parts to the problem, the decline of traditional media, the student athlete, and address that problem with those two components in mind. What's the solution? Influencer, right? I've been alluding to that. So both the reality of traditional media's decline and this fact set above have motivated me to create the Influencer offering. Influencer is a technology product and suite of services that equip innovative college athletic departments with critical social media tools that empower their student athletes as brand ambassadors for their university and essentially for themselves. Schools they don't want to hear that. Like, schools are worried when you say brand ambassadors for themselves. But the reality is, like, that's who they are. Like, they're influencers, they're personal brands on social media. And they need to be taught to be ambassadors for you and your school while doing it for themselves, because their time at your school is going to run out and they're going to have to go get a job. There are 3 words I used. Innovative, college athletic departments. 3 adjectives. Innovative, critical social media tools. And empower their student athletes. This is not a prophecy. This is not a sales pitch. This is a navigation manual for this new paradigm. Through social medias, new social medias, existing social medias, that the university and its coaches, student athletes, and even alumni own as brand ambassadors, there are tangible opportunities for each university to become proactive leaders instead of reactive followers. What's in it for you? What's in it for the athletic department? Should the university and its athletic department choose to be proactive leaders with their social medias, they have the opportunity to extend brand reach in a direct manner, which will enhance recruiting, giving you an edge over everybody else recruiting, create new monetization potential beyond TV and radio locally with IMG, and the university also has the opportunity to increase its brand protection, prevent more of what's happened. So the solution has like 3 features and services that come with it, three segments. So I call it solution A is the influencer dash. With the influencer dash, the athletic department can view live data and performance of each social media channel that represents their university's brand. So you can literally see a live followers count for each team account, each coach account, each current student athlete account, and former or alumni student athlete accounts. Any handles or account names that you want to enter into the dash, you can see a live follower account for each of those accounts. So number 2, you can identify the student athletes who are influencers, which are accounts that possess more than 10,000 followers. So you can say, okay, these are all my student athletes, and I've got this many who are influencers. Number 3, through the dash, you can view live verification status for each student athlete influencer social media channel. So you can see if they're verified or not. You're going to notice that 99% of your influencers aren't verified. We're going to come in and help you verify them. We do that. It's one of our services. But the dash is going to show you these things. Also, the dash is going to show you a rolling feed of previous posts by student athlete influencer social media channels. You're going to receive alerts for posts with profane language and inappropriate content. We're just going to use existing monitoring tools to live within our system so that you can get those alerts. We're going to record live broadcasts that your student athlete influencers are broadcasting on social. You want to talk about a problem? I mean, just go follow 5 random college football players on Instagram and it'll notify you when they go live. When it notifies you, check out their live broadcasts. Man, it's crazy that a guy like Nick Saban would ban freshmen talking to the media, yet he's got a freshman talking to Instagram in ways that would revolt and really, really bother him. But that's going on. The influencer team assists in obtaining verifications for specific student athlete influencer social media channels that are presently not verified with multiple fake accounts in the same name. We're going to help you with that. I told you that earlier. So that's the dash. The second part of the solution, part B of the solution, is the content hub. The influencer content hub allows the athletic department to equip their staff, their coaches, their student athletes, and their alumni with content that the media staff is already producing. So there's this media staff out there that's already shooting pictures, shooting videos. They can upload any content that they shoot on behalf of the university. Now, media staff can assign specific permissions for each piece of content so that a specific group, team, or person can gain access to it. The athletic department staff, coaches, student athletes, and alumni who control all kinds of different, team accounts, personal accounts. They can download any content from the Influencer Content Hub that they have permissions to, and then they can use it in their posts. How great is that? The school now is equipping these brand tentacles to push content out that A, they're already paying to shoot with their media staff, and B, they want more people to see. More imprints, more impressions. The influencer creative team, so I built a team where we're going to have a content creation strategy for media staff to follow in creating content that representing social media channels will want to post. So this content will engage and grow the university's overall following. Remember I talked about the list being the most important asset? This grows your reach, your list. So we're also, the influencer creative team, we're also going to build a monetization strategy around the content strategy to engage existing traditional media sponsors for the school, people sponsoring signage and radio, into fees they'll pay to engage with content you're posting that your following is consuming. All right, solution C, the influencer you. No doubt, with all my conversations, education is one of the biggest issues. There's not enough education on social media for all audiences, whether it's, or all, I guess, users, I should say. Whether it's at the college athletic department level or even down to the student athlete level, there's not enough education. With the Influencer U, the athletic department can follow a strategy for its team accounts while developing its student athletes with social media skills that they can use during their time playing for the university and throughout their career beyond college sports. This includes weekly video education for student athletes to consume, with videos from former athletes they respect and social media experts they'll be introduced to that are providing a practical blueprint for each lesson. They're going to tell their story in a brief manner, and it's going to have an impactful takeaway for the student athlete. Ongoing educational resources for the university staff and its student athletes from the influencer team will also include, we're going to come to your campus with a speaker, or I'm going to talk to your kids, or there's many other avenues. So as a brand ambassador, the student athlete has the opportunity to develop an important social media skill that they can use to create a responsible personal brand on behalf of their university as well for themselves. Student athletes' social media skills and their individual account followings culminate into something they'll be able to leverage well beyond their years playing at the university they attend. Now, there are do's and there are don'ts pertaining to the management of anybody's social media account. When I have 3 kids, I give them do's and don'ts. My wife gives me do's and don'ts. I've never heard of anybody just giving don'ts. I guess maybe some people do that, but you got to give do's, don't you? I mean, you got to tell somebody, if you're going to tell them what not to do, you got to tell them what to do, right? The majority of university leadership have made their choice to be reactive followers in this game instead of proactive leaders with their social media. So they decided, we're only going to focus on the don'ts. We're too worried about the liability of telling the kids that attend our school, represent our school, what to do. We're just going to tell them what not to do. And then if they do the wrong thing, we'll slap them on the wrist or penalize them for it. These are 18-year-old kids. Being reactive translates into hoping, wishing that the student athletes who represent your institution with followings as big as 500,000, Leonard Fournette, or 1 million, Lonzo Ball, won't become the next horrific social media case study of what not to do as a student athlete on social. Schools are hoping they don't have the next case study instead of equipping the student athlete to not be the next case study. The reality is that each student athlete is on their personal social media accounts for at least 90 minutes per day, with no focus on the do's when it comes to social media. It's inevitable that these student athletes will violate the don'ts, along with missing out on countless opportunities to build a social media following that they can benefit from and the university can benefit from. With proactive leadership on behalf of their university and their student athletes, college athletic departments can change the game by focusing on the do's. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up. I've always wanted to make these an hour or less. There'll be a lot of them that are 15 minutes or less. Listen to the market and you'll know it's time to change. Listen. if I've learned anything in my 14 years as an entrepreneur, 2 years in college, 12 years since graduating, it's that I don't know. I don't know everything. You don't know everything. We don't know everything. Listen to the market and you'll know it's time to change. When you launch a new business, you make plenty of assumptions. In this case, I'm assuming that there are enough proactive leaders in college athletics to be able to serve at least 3 athletic departments as my pilot clients. And I'm realizing that to be true. There are 3. There's gonna be a lot more though, as I over-deliver for these 3. I also realize there are pain points that I don't fully grasp. I don't want to launch Influencer with more than 5 pilot clients for this upcoming 2017-18 athletic year, because I want to be able to jump in, roll up my sleeves, and offer what I know we already have, which is our existing product and services that I just got done mapping out to you as the solution. But I want to have flexibility with my first batch of athletic departments that I serve. I want to be able to refine our product and services to establish a process that's both effective and then scalable for the next 50 schools. Lastly, I'm humble enough to take a loss, whether it's a financial loss in the form of my upfront investment of lower pricing to ensure these 5 pioneering universities leaders they experience the value in what we're offering before investing more dollars into our priceless product and services that we offer. Or maybe it's a loss in the form of not hearing yeses from college athletic departments and recalibrating my approach. I'm confident that I'm going to find these proactive leaders. I want you to be one of these proactive leaders. I want you to help me find these proactive leaders so we can give these problems the attention they deserve in the present by bringing in my influencer product and suite of services and team. Because the reality is, I'm passionate about the problems. And instead of staying comfortable by pursuing many other lower risk business opportunities that would bring me more cash faster, that's not why I'm doing this. This is all about the student athlete and secondarily the trend of traditional media to social media. I'm choosing to build the first set of solutions for this problem. My goal is to sign 5 pilot clients by July. If I don't reach my goal, I'm going to help the clients I brought on. I've got verbal commitments from Alabama, from Kentucky. I'm really excited to work with those 2 universities, close with other schools. Been in conversations with awesome schools. You can see that there are proactive leaders out there. Schools like Ohio State, Penn State, Clemson, Texas. Great schools. And those types of schools will probably be a part of my pilot client group of 5. So as I've visited these schools and I've gotten to know these leaders that appear to be very proactive, I've realized that they're like me. I've never been a problems guy. I've always been a solutions guy. I enjoy learning about the problems that are out there so that my team and I can find the best ways to solve them. I hope that you are one of the proactive leaders who'll join me in this transition from traditional media that you get paid rights fees for to social media that you own complete rights to in the world of college sports. So I want you to email me on this topic, jim@influencer.com. Influencer is spelled INFLCR.com. Or find me on social at Jim Cavale, all one word, JIMCAVALE. Let's interact on this. If you're a leader, be proactive. Let me serve you. And if you're just passionate about this like I am and you don't have any direct correlation to it, share this. Tell other people about it. Email it to them. Share it on social. Let's get this message out there so that the solutions we've created can address the problem and we can essentially help the student athlete in many ways that they're not being equipped in right now. Thank you, and we'll have many episodes to come with well-known athletes and figures in the business world talking about these topics that Influencer is addressing. So stay tuned for the next Influencer podcast, and thanks for tuning in.